A university should be a place of light, of liberty, and of learning. But is that very liberty at the heart of higher education under threat? Our investigation uncovers an attempt by the University of Lincoln Students' Union to suppress dissent from its own elected officers. We tell the story of how a student society was silenced for criticising the union's stance on free speech, how it led to protests on campus.
Come and address them, don't just stand there!
And how it received national attention.
The Students' Union at the University of Lincoln is being accused of censorship.
So are university campuses under threat from censorship? Is free speech a fundamental human right?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Without it, we're lost.
It's a Tuesday afternoon, and there's a carnival atmosphere in Lincoln. People have lined the streets, waiting for their favourite football team to drive past on their open-top bus parade. Lincoln City have captured hearts and hit headlines this year. Not only were they champions of the conference and gained promotion back to the Football League, but they became the first non-league side to reach the FA Cup quarter-finals in over 100 years. Their success not only got the whole city buzzing, the whole country was talking about Lincoln. But not for the first time in 2017.
The headlines tonight. Intolerant and illiberal criticism of a students' union in a row over censorship.
What the Students' Union has now done is completely clamp down on freedom of speech. So, they're very willing to stick up for students, it seems, as long as those students agree completely with the Students' Union.
The university hit the headlines for all the wrong reasons, as a decision by the Students' Union to ban a society from social media blew up in their faces. The reason? A tweet by the Conservative Society shared a link to a report which highlighted the organisation's poor record on free speech. The union's response was to ban them.
To be honest, we thought it was a joke at first, because sharing articles like that is balanced, because we do share positive ones as well. We are quite supportive of the SU in terms of getting involved in activities and things. We couldn't believe how ironic it was that we shared an article about free speech and then we got our social media accounts removed from it.
The news received global coverage and media attention. People were outraged. And Lincoln's Member of Parliament at the time, Carl McCartney, didn't hold back either. In a statement, the Conservative hit out at the union, describing their actions as intolerant, illiberal and totalitarian. Likening them to the Soviet Union and North Korea, Mr. McCartney said it was an attempt to stifle debate. Just days later, the Society's accounts were reactivated after they successfully won an appeal hearing. However, the Society was still charged with bringing the union into disrepute, something they deny.
We're happy that we have access to the social media again, but the decision that we brought the SU into disrepute still remains, and we think that is really important that isn't the case, because we still don't believe that we brought the SU into disrepute over those tweets. If you were looking for something that brought the SU into disrepute, you don't have to look much further than blocking our social media. We never wanted any of that, and we're yet to receive an apology from the SU for dragging us through this.
The Society were back on Twitter, but their ban had stirred up a hornet's nest. The issue wasn't going away. It sparked protests across campus.
Stand together and we will make this union a freer and more democratic place. Stand together and we will protect our freedom of speech. Stand together and we will win.
Why don't we go and go and address them?
We're not going anywhere here, are we?
Exactly. You don't want to talk to the monkeys, you want to talk to the organ grinders.
They won't do anything.
Well, then they could listen!
She could at least sit there and not look
Then go and talk to them so they have to listen. They might not give you any answers.
Look really smug at us. I think she cannot do that.
Come and address them, don't just stand there! Address the people that want to talk to you!
The protesters were angry at the way the SU is run, and they wanted change. They handed over a petition to demand an emergency meeting so changes could be proposed and enacted.
Those bits of paper were the 50 minimum signatures that are needed to hold an all-students meeting.
And you got 72, that's right.
And we got more than that, so I'm absolutely ecstatic on that basis as well.
Do you think there'll be much change coming out of this meeting?
I don't know, because a lot of it's, if I'm honest, I don't know, because a lot of it's a review of existing policies, particularly with the external speakers policy. I'm a bit uncertain. What I'm a bit more certain about is the definition of what brings the SU into disrepute. I feel like that's a bit more certain, and that will prevent events like what happened to the Conservative Society taking place again.
We tried to attend that emergency meeting but were prohibited from filming because it was a grey area. We later asked for an official reason behind the camera ban. We did not receive a response. I've come to our capital city, London, and the building at the heart of democracy in the UK stands behind me, Westminster Palace. All the rules we abide by and all the liberties we enjoy are made here, you know. That now infamous tweet was all started because of a report called the Free Speech University Rankings, conducted by the online magazine Spiked. So I've come here to learn more about it. I was told the magazine had given Lincoln's SU a red status for the second year in a row because of its approach to free speech.
So according to our research, 94% of institutions in the UK will censor speech and do censor speech in some way. That is absolutely terrifying. That's basically all of them. So that means if you are a young person going to university tomorrow, you will not be in a position, most likely you will not be in a position where you'll be able to say what you think. You'll be curtailed in some way.
Nobody in that SU would ever try to stifle individuals' freedom of speech.
That's not how it's come across, isn't it? It seemed that way.
Yeah, and that is very much an unintended consequence of what has happened.
But you acknowledge the perception, though?
Yes, we do acknowledge that that has been the perception, and that's gone out, and the SU would never want to stifle an individual's freedom of speech, and it's very, it would be upsetting to see all of the great work that happens in the SU by me and my fellow officers to be overshadowed by that, because that would never be what we were trying to do. And it's raised an issue that this is an issue for students, and apparently it's been an issue for a long period of time. And we are here today to say we're listening, we want to make those changes.
However, our investigations have found that's not the case. Several people who were elected officers at the Students' Union have told us they were either asked to resign or delete tweets that made jokes about the organisation.
I was invited to a catch-up meeting with the Vice President of Academic Affairs and the President. I didn't know the President was going to be there. In my role as officer, I regularly have catch-up meetings with the Vice President, so I thought it was just one of those. Wasn't told anything about this prior. Sat down at the meeting and I was told, in a very polite, nice, friendly way, but I was told you either stop campaigning against the National Student Survey or you resign from your position as an officer.
And that meeting was with Sammy Storey and John Paul Dickey?
Yeah, they were the two people present. Like I say, I wasn't told the President was going to be there. I wasn't told what the meeting was going to be about, so it felt like a bit of an ambush to me, to be honest. They did exactly the same thing to Gabriel Miles, who's a school rep who was campaigning with me as well.
When I got there, I was sat down in front of two people, not one, no one-to-one there, the President of the Students' Union and the VPAA, and they told me that I could either step down or stop campaigning. So it was taken completely by surprise. There was no official notice. I wasn't told in advance what the meeting was to be about. I was told it would be something else, and when I got there, they just laid it on me, and I pretty much had to decide there and then. So it took me completely by surprise.
And I tweeted at the end of the day something along the lines of, I had a really great day meeting the school reps for social sciences. Hope the SU haven't scared them away. And then the next day I got a phone call in the morning from the Vice President of Academic Affairs saying there had been some concerns about the tweet that I posted. I told the the Vice President flat out that I would not delete the tweet because I felt that was where the conversation was going.
What do you say to accusations you asked elected officers to resign and delete tweets that made fun of the Students' Union? I'll take that as a no comment.
We actually became elected the best students' union in the country in 2014. And since then, for some reason, and I will never understand why, those sort of freedoms have sort of been eroded as time has gone on, and the union's become more inward-looking, more insular. The executive has become more like a cabal. It's harder to talk to them, and when you do, they give you the answers that you might expect more from a politician trying to avoid answering a question. And it's been very depressing to watch over the last 2 or 3 years in particular.
These are the officers of the Students' Union. They've rejected our request for an interview and instead directed us to a statement they released 2 months ago. I suppose their reluctance to talk to us goes with the general theme.
For me, the most important human right is the right of free speech, because it's the capstone right. Because without it, you can't actually guarantee any of the other rights. And those other rights, you know, the right to education, the right to not be put in prison without due process, all those things are all obviously more immediately important than just shooting your mouth off. But unless you have the right of free speech, you can't guarantee any of those other rights. I think that there is a constant attempt to control your image on the part of big corporations and celebrities and so on and so forth, because it's their business, it's part of their business. It's perfectly natural that they should try and do that, just as it's perfectly natural that they should be open to investigation and criticism. And the question then comes, is the investigation and criticism possible? And one could argue that the internet and all these other things are too liberal, and they allow far too much freedom of speech. And I'm not entirely certain I wouldn't go along with that to a certain extent.
Lincoln is home to one of just 4 original copies of the Magna Carta. The document, sealed 800 years ago in 1215, is kept here at Lincoln Castle and is regarded as the foundation of democracy in Britain. So how ironic that the university in this great city should face allegations of censorship and suppression of free speech. Is free speech a fundamental human right?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Without it, we're lost. We can't have this conversation unless we have a right of free speech. And that means a right to offend. You have to be able to offend people. If everything you say doesn't offend anybody, how do you know you've got free speech?